Hey everyone, and welcome back to Baking with Mr. Bell. I hope you enjoyed the last video. Today we are making chocolate chip cookies. So let's read the instructions and get out the ingredients. Alright, for this recipe it's called the best chocolate chip cookies ever! Those do look really good. So it says it's ready total from start to finish in 30 minutes. Don't worry, this video will not nearly be as long as 30 minutes or as long as the last video. It says it'll make 36 cookies approximately, and it's saying 183 calories per cookie, but I'm going to just ignore that. So the ingredients that we need is a cup of unsalted butter, softened. What I like to do with this is I pull it out the day before or the morning if I'm making them later at night. That way it's nice and soft. 1 cup of sugar, white sugar. A cup of light brown sugar, packed. 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. 2 large eggs. 3 cups of all-purpose flour. 1 teaspoon of baking soda. A half a teaspoon of baking powder. A half a teaspoon of salt, and 2 cups of chocolate chips or 12-ounce bag of chocolate chips. I don't think it would really matter if you added more chocolate chips, but that's just me. Anyways, the directions say to preheat the oven to 375, line the baking sheet with parchment paper and set aside. In a separate bowl, mix flour, baking soda, salt, baking powder, and set aside. Cream together butter and sugar until combined. That just kind of means mix it really, really well. Beat in the eggs and vanilla until fluffy. Mix all the dry ingredients until combined. And then you will add your chocolate chip cookie or chocolate chips at the end and mix it well. Right here it says when we're ready to bake, roll them into 2-ish or 2 to 3 tablespoons or tablespoons, depending on how large you like the cookies. I'm probably going to stick to the 2-ish size, just, about that big. And then bake them from 8 to 10 minutes. Once again, I always just set it for 9 and just kind of keep an eye on them. This recipe does say that to pull them out when they're barely starting to turn brown on the bottom. So I think that's because if you leave them sit on the pan for 2 more minutes, it'll continue cooking and they should be about done. So we're going to find out. And last one is to enjoy this with loved ones and Dormont rocks. All right, so we're going to get the ingredients out, and I'll show you what those look like, and then we'll start making these cookies. I'll see you real soon. All right, so what I did here was I organized these based on how I'm going to mix them. So these are my flour, my salt, my baking powder, and baking soda. And then the next one right here are all going to go into this bowl. This is my sugar, my brown sugar, my softened butter, the 2 eggs and vanilla extract. And then over here I have my chocolate chips. This is a larger bag, so I'll probably use about half of these, or knowing me, I'll probably use a little more. But I'm going to save some of those chocolate chips for the recipe that I have on Friday. Now I also have all my different types of measurements here, my measuring cups, and everything I'm going to use. I use this right here to scoop out my cookies. That way they're uniform. That's just me, but you can roll them out. So we are ready to go. I have the oven already preheated over here. So it's at 375, ready to rock and roll. And then for this, I have a different thing I use rather than the parchment paper. I like to use these mats. It's kind of like a non-stick mat, but that's just me. I like those. And then of course I have my directions, and I have my KitchenAid mixer that I'd like to use. It just makes things a little easier for me. So we are ready to move these and put them into their respective bowls, so to say. So I'm going to go ahead and add all these ingredients, and we'll go over those measurements here in a second. Alright, so we're going to mix our dry stuff together first. I need 3 cups of flour. So instead of using my 1 cup measuring cup, I'm actually going to use a half cup. So we're going to do a little math. So do you know how many half cups of flour that we need? to make 1 cup? Does anyone know? Yes, so if we're making 3 cups, we need 6. So every half cup, if you double that, right, that makes 1 cup. So we're gonna start off, we need 6 of these. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the last one is 6. So the reason why I'm using the half one is just for my own preference. If I use this 1 cup measuring cup, I'm probably going to make a mess everywhere. So instead of doing that, I just use the half cup. The next thing we need is, I'm going to put in there is our baking soda. So it says here, 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So I'm just actually going to use a teaspoon. I use this little tab here to kind of, if I have like a little too much, kind of scrape it off. Make sure it's 1 teaspoon. Alright? If you notice, I'm kind of like moving these to the side, that way I know I'm done with them. Next, I'm going to go to my baking powder. Okay, and this just says a half a teaspoon of baking powder. So I use this, same thing, it's a little top here. Scrape it off. Throw that in there. And I'm going to keep this in my hand because I believe I need a half a teaspoon of salt to go in this dry mixture. So let me see. Right here. So this salt is a half. I like my cookies with a little less salt. I don't know. Some people would rather have a whole teaspoon. Not me. So this is ready. I'm going to mix this up a little bit. So I actually forgot to get my whisk out. So I'm just going to mix this up. That way it's ready to rock and roll. That way I can just slowly mix it in to my eggs and sugar and whatnot. Alright, that's good. Moving over to the wet. So what I need to do here is I'm going to start off with my butter. So it calls for 1 cup. So each stick of butter is a half cup. So I need 2 softened sticks of butter. So I'm going to throw that in here. Try not to get my butter all over my hands. There's that one. And then, let's see, here's the second stick of butter. So here we're supposed to cream together the butter and sugar, so I'm going to throw my sugar in there as well. It says 1 cup, same thing though. I'm going to use the half cup measurement because if I try to put that 1 cup measuring cup in here, it's not going to work. It'll just make a giant mess. So I'm going to use, to make 1 cup, I'm going to use 2 halves. So 2 halves to make a whole. So, let's see. There's 1. And here's 2. Now notice, I'm just kind of scooping the white sugar. The brown sugar, I have to do that a little differently. So, I'm done with this. Put this in my done pile. Now, the brown sugar, the light brown sugar, you actually have to press it in. So it says packed. So same thing, it needs a cup of this. So I'm going to press it. If you push the outside of the bag, here you can kind of move it back and forth to kind of make it nice and level. Then we get this. So there's 1 half. And then I'm making 2 halves, which make a whole. Right. So there's that. I am done with this. So I'm going to let that mix together here. So I'm going to put this in my KitchenAid. If you're using any type of appliance in your kitchen, please make sure there's an adult around, just for safety. Let that, keep that on slow. While that's mixing, I'm going to clean up my mess. Once again, I like to clean up as I go. So we'll let that go for about a minute or so. looking good. Alright, so I'm going to move the camera that way you get a better view of what's going on in this KitchenAid right now. Alright, so that's what it kind of looks like on the inside. I'm going to turn this off. Right, make sure it's safe. Move this up. So that's kind of like what you want, that consistency. So I'm going to add my 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. I have pure vanilla extract here, so let's see, 1 and then 2 teaspoons of that. And there's 2. Right? So I'm gonna let that go, toss this in the sink. Good. And then I'm gonna add 1 egg to this. So I'm actually gonna lift this up, make it a little easier on myself. I'm gonna lock this in place. Kind of move that blade. There we go. Then I'm gonna put 1 egg in. 1. And then I'm just gonna mix